Hello, good morning. Welcome to Sunrise Daily today. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
Well, it's a beautiful Thursday morning here in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital. I'm Kayode Okikelu.
Well, it's good to be back. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily on Channels Television. Bukola Samuel.
Don't worry, Buki. Not to worry. Don't worry. We'll take a look at that as we progress much later today.
I'm looking forward to it, Chamberlain.
There are issues to actually address about that. So don't worry, just hang on. At least you have that opportunity to relive your experience, what happened and what was the best way to approach it. Or we'll get to hear from the authorities themselves in terms of explaining why things are that way. Because look, no matter the amount of work that they've put into that area, when this kind of gridlock happens, you know that the voices will really be loud. So we'll get to hear from them, and maybe that if it counts for anything, to see if we could assuage frayed nerves, and probably, you never can tell, there just might be a solution inside, but we'll wait and see what happens. But guys, you got something about the National Human Rights Commission, did you?
Oh, yes. Well, here in Lagos, while lots of people battle with road closure to maintain the road, sometimes fix the road, you know, victims of police brutality, their family members as well, may have gotten some sort of closure. So, I mean, closure in this case, good thing. I mean, and that's talking about the NHRC's panel. You know, NSARS, defunct SARS, that's the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. It's interesting. A lot of people have forgotten what SARS means. At that time, it was a reality for a lot of people and other victims of police brutality. So the NHRC actually commissioned this panel in 2020, November. Okay, just a month after the NSARS, the protests and all of that. And it's taken, what, close to 2 years for this panel to eventually pay compensation, running to the tune of about 289 million to 74 victims of police brutality and, you know, other illegal acts by the defunct NSARS, members of the defunct NSARS. And I mean, for a lot of people, this is maybe closure to an extent, because I mean, for people who have lost their lives, people who have maybe lost their arm or what have you, no amount of money can really compensate for that loss, especially for the loss of a human life. So even if you were paid 100 million or what have you, can't really return what was lost in terms of life or, you know, the body functions and all of that. But I mean, kudos at least to this panel for seeing it all the way through, and of course, given some sort of compensation. But whether or not we've been able to resolve this issue of, you know, police brutality here and there, I mean, we've seen videos time and again. And I need to also commend the Nigeria Police Force to an extent, because over time, especially in recent times, we've seen some sort of proactiveness. I mean, you've seen policemen being derobed, some of them being prosecuted. In fact, a lot of these things done on social media, and people saying, well, I think we're seeing a different kind of police. So perhaps this has, you know, turned the police and the structure, even security structure, on a positive note, on a positive tide. Maybe we've seen some of that. So way to go. But whether or not this is all that we need to do to ensure that we have the kind of police force we need is another thing entirely. Some might say this is the beginning of the journey. And I wonder for you, Bukola, what your thoughts are.
Oh, well, very, very similar to yours, Kayode. Whatever panel was constituted, thankfully compensation has been paid to 74 victims. But then again, it can't sufficiently, you know, compensate for members of families who lives have been lost, for those who have, you know, lost functions to their body for life. It can't adequately compensate for that. But then again, it's better than absolutely nothing. You can't have a peaceful society without justice. If this is the first step to getting, you know, those victims to securing justice, I think it's a good way to start. But then again, as you said, is this, you know, what we need or all we need to do to reform our force? Certainly not. I was still, you know, flipping through my social media and saw the testimony of a young man who said that, you know, police officers wanted to plant, or they planted drugs in his car, you know, just to get him to pay them or bribe them or something. I couldn't go through the thread, but but it's another sad narrative in our policing, in our police force. People need to feel safe when they go about their normal duties without intimidation. We need to have a police force, that also caters to the welfare of the police. We shouldn't have a police force where new recruits are having to purchase their own uniforms themselves. These are some of the stories coming out of the force. So there's so much more that we need to do. What about their remuneration? We're still having, constabularies who are, going on strike, and the police force is providing clarity about the nature of their recruitment and all of that. These are some of the issues that need to be addressed: their welfare, their accommodation, their remuneration, so that we can have that force that we can boast of. We can go on and on about the things that our security agents need. But how are you weighing on this, Chamberlain?
Look, guys, there's just so much about this. I mean, if you just do a simple read through, try to find out, get some history about what's been going on with human rights. Even as recent as 2016, the NHRC at the time said they received 1.7 million petitions concerning human rights violations, and guess what? They were only able to attend to 200. And now that this answer has happened, I mean, many of you saw different states, different complaints that came through from different people in different parts of the country as to the kind of violations that they went through. Some of them were like movie scripts. If you thought this actually happened, and then you wonder, if those panels, those commissions were not even set up, many of those families, you never would have heard anything about it. It would have just been business as usual for those officers who carried out those kinds of actions. But it is a lot. Thankfully, that panel was there to even attend to some of those complaints, because it's one thing to have, for people to have opportunity to speak about that. So yeah, as you also indicated, some sort of closure is usually huge, very important to a lot of people, humanity as a matter of fact. So that's how the way it works naturally. But we still have a long way to go with all of this, especially with the mindset of public officials, security agencies. There's just something about fundamentals, the kind of training that they go through. Why is it always this us and them kind of scenario? It is a lot. Some of them still happen today. Many were not able to get their cases attended to with those panels because they could only do as much. But yes, the NHRC did pay some compensation, but it speaks to the fact that as a country, we'll have a lot to do with respect to holding security agencies accountable. Yes, it's good to see and read what the current leadership of the police is doing, trying to ensure that people are held accountable. And citizens also behave themselves and conduct themselves decently with security agencies, because it's both ways. You can't see people harass officials because they've been traumatized, officials harass and brutalize them because they've got guns with them. So even if we set up, I see some officials of NSCDC who also behave in a certain way, and you thought, NSCDC that was formed when? So this mindset, where does it come from? But guys, let's not just go on and on with that one. But yes, those are issues. There are. And it's good to see that something is happening. But at some point, we need to do a lot more with all of this one. But not to worry. We'll take a moment and go for the headlines, the newspapers. Well, you get to see them up much later. Don't worry, just trying to tell you some things. But give us a moment. We're back with the dailies. Welcome back. Let's run you through some of the dailies. We'll start with New Telegraph this morning. 2023, CUPP alleges secret suit to nullify BVAS use, plot to remove INEC chair. So, that is the big lead right here. Look at the riders. Says voters register compromised. Polls, we've learned lessons from Ekiti Oshun, ascribed to INEC chair Yakubu. Same faith candidacy plot to Islamize Nigeria, Anglican primate. So you have all of this, and you know, several people have indicated that in several forward that we need to pay a lot of attention on the umpire, election management in the country. In this particular story too, you may get to see if you go a little deeper. Accusations flatly leveled against the governor of Imo State. Wonder how he responds to that. So there's several things. So now that this is out there, you can only just look a little deeper and a little closer. So perhaps many will look to all those nominees that were then sent to the National Assembly for passage. Could there have been a cause? Could it be, what, related to all of these things? Who knows? Look at this at the bottom strip. Insecurity. Nigerians are scampering for safety. Can. Buhari condemns attempt on Uba's life, says he's awaiting military's response to attack. There you go. So, of course, there's usually a lot more on the front pages here. Particularly, don't miss out on that part. PSC chair Musiliu Smith resigns. So, that is... those are some of the headlines on the front page of New Telegraph this morning, guys.
Well, take a look at Daily Independent. Has that lead as well on CUPP, and it's on the 2023 general election. CUPP uncovers plot to use court to stop use of BVAS. So, it raises the alarm over alleged plan to sack INEC chairman. Okay, that's new, but that's what you have there on the front page of the Daily Independent. It's a page 29 read this morning. And you see that one Southwest PDP resolves to back Atiku Abubakar, insists IU must go. Your request achievable, but must follow due process. Atiku. So that's a response, as it were. You wonder, where's the way forward on this one? We'll take you through that, all of the different angles to get a sense of what this is all about and what to expect. I just showed this, read this one to you. Yeah, we're showing you already. Top left corner of the front page. Over 400 out of 541 MDAs risk scrapping. That's from the Senate. What do you think about that? 400 out of 541? Well, the reasons definitely should be inside. Backs implementation of Orosoy's report to save economy. So is this the way to go? I think people have clamored for this for as long as I can remember. 400 out of 541. That's how much percent now? That's literally almost, let me see, I'm going to do this, okay. That's about 80% or less than 80% of that. So more details on the inside pages. Let's leave it there for Daily Independent newspaper.
And from Daily Independent newspapers, let's quickly take a look at the Guardian newspapers this morning, which takes a different route as against the other papers. It chooses to talk about energy. Energy crisis forces Nigeria's 43 million households to spend 8.9 trillion naira per year. That's a huge amount. Well, take a look at the riders. Electricity workers demand reversal of privatization, say new owners are hustlers. That's an interesting one. Well, experts worry over obsolete refineries, gas processing facilities. Stakeholders insist Nigerians paying for inefficiencies and tariff hike. Russia-Ukraine war. FG-EU AFD signed $25 million to strengthen electricity grid in Northwest. Well, that's the big story there. Of course, there are more stories just beneath the nameplate there. Let's just take a look at some of them. Arrest Quiz Gumi, group urges DSS, Lord's agency on Mahmoud's detention. That's been ongoing for some days now with a lot of revelations coming forth. We'll see how that goes. And lastly, this one at the extreme corner, right-hand corner of The Guardian, you are sleeping, Mr. President, PDP chief tells Buhari. That is a page 27 read on The Guardian newspapers, in case you're interested in the story and you just want to explore it a bit more. But let's continue exploring other papers this morning. Chamberlain, what have you got?
Wow, this energy crisis. So you can imagine who's benefiting. Look at that amount of money. 8.9 trillion naira a year. Wow. Well, Daily Trust is the next one here today. Call for state police is the kicker. ACF, NEF, Afenifere, Pandef. That's what F's, right? Back Northern governors, monarchs. Ekiti passes bill. Kano in 2 weeks. Jigawa to follow soon. It's nullity without National Assembly approval, Professor Yadudu. But this speaks to a lot of things, which, well, you can make of this what you will, make of it what you will, because this is a matter that keeps coming up. There's a way to address this. If we want to address it, we can address it. So, I guess, yeah. It is on the front page here today, and yeah, they've got several others which has been highlighted in a lot of the other dailies, including the scrapping of over the suggestion to scrap over 400 MDAs, because they say it's just so much. And yet we'll have the same reports, we'll go back to it, we'll talk about it, we'll move on, then go back to it. So you just wonder, what do we actually want? Can we make up our minds and just go for it? That's Daily Trust today, guys.
Well, if you take a look at this Nigerian newspaper, this is what you find on the front page. It is big, it is bold. 2023, Ayu must step down, Makinde insists. Gives Atiku conditions for PDP Southwest support. You see why he won't go now, ex-VP. So there have been different angles to this particular one, which we'll take a look at for you this morning. It's quite a very intriguing one playing out in the PDP, and well, let's just pause on that one for now. You see Lassa fever, 909 cases confirmed as death toll hits 170 in 25 states. That's worth taking a look at, definitely. Not a look, maybe a major look. Let's know what's going on. Right there. And you see ASU strike, students blocking Expressway are violating laws, says Fashola. So he spoke about this yesterday after the FEC meeting, and naturally a lot of people have been responding to that one, especially students and people who are concerned. What are your thoughts really on that one? Let us know. And there's that picture on the front page. It shows all for the Queen. That's the caption. It's a procession of a coffin of Queen Elizabeth moving from Buckingham Palace to the House of Parliament for her lying in state in London yesterday. I mean, all eyes have been on that one, and it'll go on for another week thereabouts. So let's leave it there for this Nigeria.
From this Nigerian newspapers, let's quickly take a look at Nigerian News Direct this morning, and it also leads with politics. It goes this way, the big story: PDP crisis, Ayu's removal possible, achievable. That's attributed to the party's presidential candidate, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Let's take a look at the riders. Says party's law must be amended to remove embattled chairman. Ayu's removal will facilitate proper restructuring, Makinde insists. That's a page 3 read for you if you want to know more about that story. Let's go above the nameplate to see some more stories. Just in case you're wondering or looking forward to having the Pro-Chancellor support the lecturers on this lingering strike, well, you may have to think again, as the story reads thus: ASU strike, state Pro-Chancellors back FG on no work, no pay. All right, so, and just one more. 2023, Southwest PDP resolves to back Atiku, insists Ayu must go. So the calls for the removal of the national chairman of the party are increasing and becoming more intense. That's the Nigerian News Direct for you this morning.
Well, Vanguard newspaper is next. Niger Delta militants at war over pipelines contracts. That's how Vanguard leads today. Tompolo insatiable sidelined me, other leaders. Ascribe to Dokubo. PPP arrangement with Global West Vessels Specialists. Sorry, I'll go again on that one. PPP arrangement with Global West Vessel Specialists, not Tompolo. And they ascribe this to a source. Revoke contract or wait for anarchy. Luri Ogbegbo to FG. Ignore Luri Ogbegbo's call to revoke contract, IPDI. So that back and forth right there for you. And then you see our fears over crude oil thefts, pipeline vandalism. This is subscribed to label right here. So while speaking of that sector, you could see this piece as well above this list story and the nameplates. Old Port Harcourt refinery will become functional by December this year. Federal government, so here's another date for you, the country to consider. But they also report PDP crisis, Ayu must go. Makinde, Nigerians won't trust us if we remove Ayu. Atiku. Okay, there you go. And then, oh, Mr. Mrs. Features today. And so Mr. just right there telling Mrs. Well, I'm not going to join those throwing barbs at the Queen. What's done is done. You know, in context of what's been happening, perhaps you may have heard it. But Mrs. just retorts and says, well, you shouldn't after all. Your name is Charles and your mother is Elizabeth. So if you fit that bill, food for thought right there. While at that, flip to the back page, you see Vanguard Sports. Amunike lands coaching job in Zambia. So at least good one for, Nigerian internationals so who've done their badges. I think a lot more of them should go ahead and get those badges and just keep going on because they've been there. They can do it. That is Vanguard today.
Well, the leadership leads with this one. There's this story that's been making the rounds about the 1995 Durbar Hotel bombing. And this is some more insight on that story. I can't talk until U.S. Embassy speaks, accused ex-U.S. envoy. You see, the Kaduna ex-military governor, General Jafar Issa, saying, I can't recall the incident which Madi Shehu is talking about. Police, DSS, U.S. Embassy keep mum. So this has been, brewing. I just used that term. The 1995 Durbar Hotel bombing, about who was meant to plant the bomb, who planted it, who induced who, and all of that. So it's a page 4 read that can give you more insight in case you're wondering, what is this all about? Page 4 has more details for you. And then another side to this MDA story, you see a revenue shortfall, Senate backs merger of MDA. So that's another side to look at it. I mean, scrapping, yes, but that might send shocks down the spine of many who are employed in the MDA saying, wait a minute, what's going to happen to my jobs? Perhaps this gives a clear picture, another angle. So maybe this is a merger of the MDAs. Well, whichever way, let's know what you think about it. Does that solve the problem? On top, you see UK Police Judicial Office passed the buck on Ekurimado's health. Yet again, that question is hanging in the air. What is the state of health? Looks like the authorities are not forthcoming with answers. You wonder if this can be done diplomatically. Who knows? Is anything being done? Well, we'll find out in the coming days. A couple of other stories on the front page of the Leadership newspaper. But I'll leave you to do the reading this morning. That's the Leadership newspaper.
Well, there you go. That ends a look at some of the dailies here this morning. But we'll be back in just a moment and take you through what we've got for you today. So sit back, relax.
One after the other, governors and other leaders of the People's Democratic Party in the Southwest arrive at the Oyo State Government House at Lagos-Ibadan, Southwest Nigeria. They are here for a courtesy visit on the governor, Seyi Makinde, ahead of a crucial meeting of the party. From here, they leave for the venue of the business of the day, a consultative meeting aimed primarily at driving support for all candidates of a party, starting with its presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar. The host, Governor Makinde, seizes the moment to add his voice to those calling for restructuring of its party leadership.
We must resolve the issue of what we have in the face of Nigeria by asking the national chairman to step down so that the PDP in the southern part of the country will feel included in the top hierarchy of PDP.
Mr. Atiku Abubakar sees validity in the concern of Governor Makinde, but wants due process followed.
I have no problem from wherever any member of the party comes from, but it must be done in accordance with our constitution, our regulations, and our practices. Therefore, what Governor Seyi is calling for is achievable under our constitution, under our conventions, under our rules, under our regulations, and under our procedures.
Speaking in his capacity as the chairman, PDP Governors Forum, Governor Aminu Tambuwa took jabs at those promoting same-faith ticket as not recognizing the diversity of Nigeria by such a move.
Same-faith ticket, either Muslim or Christian in Nigeria of today is obviously a failure from the beginning. And that the reason is clear. Nigeria is a plural state. We are diverse, and we must always reflect the character of our country.
These leaders of the party in the Southwest appear unanimous in their decision to support all their candidates, while they hope that their fears of winner takes it all is allayed ahead of the polls. Bukola Oriowo, Channels Television News.
About to introduce the next vice president.
Oh yes, we're starting with the PDP's internal affairs. This has been brewing for some weeks, months now, and it looks like it's even getting hotter. So let's understand what is at stake and the way forward, perhaps. We're joined on the program this morning right here in our Lagos studio by Dr. Olusanya Awosan, who is a pioneer member of the PDP under President Olusegun Obasanjo. He was a founding editor of Villa Scope, which was official magazine of the State House, Aso Rock, Abuja, and doubled as a public relations assistant to then presidential spokesperson. He also served as special assistant to public relations to President Goodluck Jonathan. At that time, he served in various national conversation committee of the People's Democratic Party. Dr. Awosan, it's good to have you on the program this morning.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
I mean, I couldn't help but notice that you served as special assistant of public relations to former President Goodluck Jonathan. And I wonder, what is going on with the former president, especially with internal affairs of the PDP? He's been quiet. What's going on?
Well, you know, the former president can no longer act at this level. God by himself has promoted him to higher level. He has higher responsibility, not only about Nigeria, but also about Africa. So there are a lot of good hands that if you are sincere, if you are truthful, that can I can sort out whatever is amiss and move forward.
But is he still a member of the PDP? But I must
also say that...
is he still a member of the PDP, the former president?
You know, membership of party is a personal issue. It's me that it's you that can announce to the world that I'm still a member of PDP. But the most important thing is that he's still a Nigerian leader. And
so that means you're not sure that he's still a member of the PDP?
No, it's not that. It's not a question of not being sure. You get the point? You know, for instance, I won't be president of Nigeria. I won't be given that opportunity. If I were to be in his shoe, I would tarry above political sentiment. I would be an arbiter. I would tarry about all they want to believe and say the truth about moving Nigeria forward.
But Doctor, he was at your 2017 convention. You were in that convention as well, and he spoke. Yeah. He spoke largely. He was very present at that convention. Yeah. But over time, he seems to have fizzled. And in fact, some had said he had joined the APC, and now that you can't even confirm that he's in the PDP, it raises more questions.
I can confirm to you that he has not joined the APC.
Can you confirm if he's still in the PDP?
The question of being PDP, his responsibility now will not allow him to be an active member of any party. The same thing with Baba Obasanjo now. You know, you've seen the number of travels that President Jonathan is making in recent times. We won't have time. And for you to be able to make opinion about issues and all these things, you must be very familiar with the current state of things. But if you are not around, how will you know? You cannot rely on the media.
The circumstances around the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, are quite different, and we saw that he demonstrated, you know, his non-membership of the party publicly. But that of the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, is different in the sense that, you know, there were stories ahead of the primaries that perhaps he was joining the APC and he was going to be presented as perhaps a candidate. So in the light of that fact, does that have to do with your uncertainty about his partisanship as far as PDP is concerned?
There is no uncertainty anywhere. People are still consulting him and he's still making opinion suggestions and advice here and there. No, for him to be Vice President Namadi Sambo is very close to him. Apart from being the vice president, they are very close, and the man is still very active. Okay. So
you said there's no uncertainty. He's still in the PDP.
You know, the question of being PDP is this. For instance, if you are called.
No, you said there's no uncertainty. So I just wanted to be clear on what you meant.
There's no uncertainty in the sense that he is a Nigerian leader.
But not in the PDP.
He can no longer, after this assignment, President Buhari can no longer be tagged down by the alphabetical order of APC. He would
it's interesting you put it that way, because I reminded you that after he was president in the 2017 convention, the former president was there. He even spoke.
Yes, because as at that time, the responsibility on his shoulder was very minimal.
Clearly, there's still, I mean, this is still very unclear. I mean, it's uncertain. So let's move on. There are other pressing issues. I think that one might be resolved in the coming days. Now, listening to the former vice president and the presidential candidate of your party during his visit to the Southwest, in that meeting with other leaders, seeing his body language, what he said in response to the demands by Governor Makinde, who said he was speaking for Southwest PDP. What's your reading of it?
You know, from where I come from, they will say, let me stay in English first. They said, if a young man falls, he looks straight. But if an elder staggers, he has not fallen, just staggered, he looked back. He looked back to decipher what has happened. You get the point? And that is the difference between the knowledge of the young ones and the wisdom of elders. I want to think that what is wrong in all these things is that the Vice President Atiku, honorable man, he has not looked back. He didn't bother to look back. Once upon a time, this platform under which you are standing was the same platform that you brought bulldozer, electronic bulldozer, to pull down. If there were no people that you left behind to put the skeleton together, would there be a platform for him today to stand as a presidential candidate? I said, you know, leadership, the demand of leadership, the content of character is very important. People are saying, Wike, this is not a question of Wike. You will remember that across the party, the southern governor said the presidential ticket must be zoned to the south. What is happening now is that people are just using the Wike issue as provided a rallying point. Now, having secured the ticket, I expect you to be magnanimous in victory and address. Look, before the abracadabra that they did, the chairman.
You say abracadabra?
Yes.
Who did the abracadabra?
They did in the last meeting, where the chairman.
The convention?
No. The chairman of BOT stepped down.
All right.
Before that, the chairman of BOT, the chairman of the party, the presidential candidate, all from the north. And you will agree with me that at no time than now that we have been so divided. The first thing that a leader who will help us in 2003 must exhibit is that he is able to build a nation where no ethnic nationality is oppressed.
Well, Dr. Awuson, a few issues to unravel from what you've said. First, you said you described what happened during that meeting as abracadabra, and I'm sure you're referring to the vote of confidence on the chairman, the stepping down of the BOT chairman, now former BOT chairman, yes, and the appointment of Senator Wabara and all of that. Why do you describe that as abracadabra?
There was no issue about the BOT. Our leader, the Chief Olaborun Judge, was clear. All other governors, you can see our governor, your state governor, made it clear. Look, for instance, let me tell you one thing. I think the problem actually is that because the building blocks of our political party, the political party itself is to build the building blocks of democracy. But the building blocks of our political parties is very weak. You can sleep today, go to bed today as PDP, tomorrow you become national secretary of ADB or APC or ABC. That is the problem. And one thing about the present, the dominant political class is that people are getting weary and very tired of all this shenanigans. For instance, you left like I said, you left a company. If a man is the advert manager of channels, and the man goes around telling people, don't bring advert to this station, don't bring advert to this station, and the man went away. Can the man be appointed GM of this place?
Well, so that now goes back to the internal workings of your party, because these people were welcomed back, and I mean they played the game, as it were, and they emerged. So are you saying when you said PDP, pardon me, just a moment. So when you said that you know the presidential ticket was asked to be zoned to the south by the governors, and eventually it didn't work. So are you saying it is that bad blood that the governors, or at least the people of the south, didn't get a ticket that is playing out all through now?
No, it's inability to show leadership after look, conflicts is universal law of harmony. If there are no conflicts of ideas, that will not be need for university. The university characterization is to resolve conflicts, because resolution of conflicts bring creativity and innovation. Are you getting me? But its disposition in this thing does not show any sign of leadership at all. You have come to a house.
That's on the path of the chairman, the candidate?
On the path of the candidate.
But then
the candidate has come to a place. Look, go and you have your idea. Just go. All that he has said about when he was in APC, all that he has said about PDP.
But is it the one that will remove the chairman or ask the chairman to step down? Pardon.
Wait. He was raising that there are rules, there is constitution and all this thing. The question the media should ask him that, as at the time you were pulling down Jonathan, were there no rules? Were there no constitution?
Did he ask President Jonathan to resign?
No, I was at that convention in 2024. I was an officer of that convention, serving a committee where he led a group of people out of the convention. The rumor has been going on. What happened at that convention? The man, you cannot say simply because the man went for a second term, and that it is the institution. They have banded all of you together. That must be pulled down. You can continue to look. Ghanaian in his life, if it's against you, whether you won the election or not, he will continue to criticize you and offer his own suggestion and opinion. Okay, President Jonathan has lost the election. He has moved, but he is still in the dressing room.
I really don't get that point, but Bukola, go ahead.
But Mr. Awosome,
yes,
members of your party will disagree with you because they would say that, on the contrary, your presidential candidate has been showing leadership, that it will be uncharitable for him to, join the bandwagon of those who are calling for the removal of National Chairman IU because of the consequences that it would pose for the party with just, a few months to the election and just a few days to the commencement of campaigns.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you. Every politics is local. You already have people in various local government wards and all these things. Election, you are going to vote. You are not going to vote at national secretariat. You are going to vote at ward level. So, I mean, just rearrangement. Look, the South. You cannot close door against the South if you are going for an election. You are going for a national election. You are not going for party primaries. You are going for a national election. And considering the issues that are on ground, that Nigeria, everywhere there is agitation for this, for the IPOB, all around the country. And everybody are saying it, that, look, there is no time in the history of the country that we are as divided as we are. Look, what is going to be very important in this election is the content of character of whoever want to win. That you can bring both the centripetal and centrifugal forces together with a view to reach a convergence that can help us move a little bit forward towards nationhood. We have not attained nationhood. There is no social trust. Nobody believes in anything. Nobody can stake anything for Nigeria as we are now. It was not like this before now. In the days of hours and all these things, people ordinarily will contribute at the world level for their parties.
So what do you want the candidate of your party to do?
Look, let me tell you something. The first error that was committed was by the governors themselves. When they went to the bed of political retirement of Professor Ayu to wake him up from that bed to come and be the chairman. I was discussing with Dr. Doyokupe during that time. I said, these people are taking the wrongest step of their life. Because, let me tell you something, Ayu, and you cannot separate Ayu from Vice President Atiku. Haven't been joined by together.
Did you retire from politics?
No, if you are not active, if you are not an active broadcaster, you are more or less on retirement.
No, did you say I have retired? I mean, usually they say I am no more into partisan politics.
No.
But
it's not. Before.
Go ahead. You were saying something about the relationship between the governors and Mr.
Yes, I was trying to say that the PDM that joined them together is like an unbroken cord. You get the point? I want to give you an example. Why people? No, it is not because of. I'm just making this point that it's not because of Wike. There are other fundamental fears. For instance, during Obasanjo's government, there was a reshuffle in the cabinet. Now, President Obasanjo will nearly not allow Professor Ayu to come into that cabinet. It was the Vice President who stood for him and pleaded for him. That was why he was included. Number two, that's PDM at work. Number two, and in that same period, Professor Tunde Adeniro was adjudged to be one of the best ministers serving in government. But at the end of the day, he was removed. And late Professor Aborisade was brought in. At play there is PDM. So if this man, Professor Ayu, and the moment the President Atiku emerges as president, the game will change totally. The power of Nigeria presidency is so enormous that it can do nearly all things.
Help us clarify what you mean by the game will change totally. Are you saying that your interests will no longer be covered?
Look, nobody will even have time for the want to take. What will be the, want to put this together, want to put this together. We attend to it. We attend to it. We will attend
Nobody
to
will
it.
have time for what specifically?
Nobody will have time. Nobody will have time for this discussion. That the South should get
that the national chairmanship should go to the South.
Yes, it is now. Look, it is, and in politics, you cannot talk of positions that have not yet come. You get the point?
Okay, so now help us understand.
Let me tell you something. We cannot talk of World Cup, of winning the World Cup, when you have not qualified in Africa. Are you getting me? So we must sit down at the table now, ensure that equity and justice come to play. You cannot, look, for instance, he said, to bring a country where no man is oppressed. It's not the man that's being oppressed now. Look at what happened in APC. Those patrons, the governors in the north, saw what was happening, what was happening, and what is still happening in the country, and they stood.
Okay, so help us understand the presidential candidate's position that the constitution of the PDP must be amended before the national chairman is removed.
What we are saying is this: he said there must be there are rules. In anything we do, all our rules must be followed. Why was it that he did not follow rules? You are a leader. You want to lead a country. It is when you don't get it, the platform must be destroyed. What kind of a leader is that?
You said he didn't follow rules. At what point didn't he follow the rules?
Look, if you disagree, in any election, if you disagree, if you imagine in an election, if I disagree, I take you to court. It is not enough for me to now carry people and go, look at all of them. They went back to APC, and shamelessly they came back. I was in the national convention in the meeting of what we are going to do. We are going to have a convention in Abuja then. When he came back, I still remember what the then chairman McAfee, former governor, said. So you are coming back because there are people here. So we welcome you.
Are you saying that he's just hiding behind rules, that the national chairman can be removed without, subscription to any rule?
If you want to be a unifier, if you want to be a nationalist, certain things can give way so that you can accommodate the interests of all. So I mean, if you cannot accommodate the interests of all, if you cannot jump over this Rubicon as a candidate, are you going to be able to jump over it when you become president and security report will come today? That one, and your attention will be so divided, and the volume of work will be so high. Now, as a candidate, you are free. You are going about. You are just picking. This is when you can attend to. If you call it mundane things of life, so that people can feel. Look, how do you explain it? How will you explain it to in your ward meeting? Well, and they ask you, the national chairman. He said, no. Our people are watching. They are asking questions.
So what does this mean for the Southwest if, things go the way they're going, the chairman stays in this position, the candidate is from the North as well. Does that mean the Southwest will not be supporting the candidate of the PDP? No, we have not. It is not the question of Southwest. Oh, it's even the South? It is the South. Look, okay. All these people you are calling wicked, these are Southern patriots who are advocating for the interests of the South. You get, look, unlike an APC, it was the Northern patriots that advocated, But because the Northern, those of them, I'm not talking of the North, but the members there, most of the people that are really on the other side are returnees. But is the South? Since you said this is a southern agitation, is the South unanimous on this? Because the current chairman of the BOT is from the South. If the South were maybe unanimous, you probably would have heard him say, well, you heard the governor of Oyo State saying, I don't even want to be the chairman of whatever the governor's forum. Even if you give me, I do not want it. So if the South were unanimous on this, maybe you'll have heard the current chairman of the BOT say, well, this is not what we're asking for. I don't know what you mean by unanimous. But let us leave PDP out now. Either PDP or APC, Labour Party or not, that majority of members of politically active people in the South don't want another candidate, another president after 8 years
of President Buhari.
You know, you've not spoken to that point. The current chairman of the BOT now,
Yes.
who took over from the former chairman,
Yes.
is from the South.
In
Am I
an acting
right?
capacity.
Am I right? Is he from the South?
Oh, yes.
So why didn't he toe the line of Governor Makinde, for example, who said, no, I don't want any position. That's not what we want. We want the chairmanship of the party.
You are just talking of one person.
No, I'm just saying, if you were unanimous, wouldn't he have told that line?
No. Well, that one person has taken up the responsibility does not mean that there is no unanimity in this thing.
So at least you know that one person
instance,
is not on the same...
As we are now, we are 3 here. We are 3 here now. If 2 of you voted this way yesterday, and I come today, I vote this way, the majority has carried the vote.
Did you get the point I'm making? Not everyone in the South, clearly, is on the same page with you.
Majority of the people, look, we have not, you know, I'm a scholar. No, there's nowhere we have done any research.
But you just said majority.
Media review. If you go by media review, on television, on this, you know that majority, when the governors of the South, you know, have you forgotten that the governor of the South met and made that declaration?
No, this is not about the candidacy now.
Yes.
I mean, that's done and dusted with, except there's still bad blood over there. This is about the chairmanship of the party. They didn't call for that, did they?
Do we need any teacher to teach us that we must accommodate? We said we'll be the nation where no man is oppressed. You are building a party where the southern the people are being technically oppressed. That's just a party. When you call you know, it's look. Our people will say when you want to bake cake, you want to eat bake cake, you start from the smallest part of it. Kind of take your spoon to take. Let us even start from the issue of this party arrangement. The man himself said, if other candidate emerges, and I told someone these people, look, if this thing is more than even just a southerner want to occupy a position. For instance, after the election, the first 2 people that will be meeting is the president and national chairman. Who will speak for the South? I mentioned something that time. That this I thank God that Professor Adeniro is still alive, well and alive. You know, the circumstances. If there were 3 or 4 people there and some other people there that could put words for him, say, this was the man they adjudged to be, he would not have been removed. I'm not saying the other man that was late Professor, may God bless his soul. I'm not saying that, but you see all these antics. You get the point. All these antics. Let me tell you one thing. Something happened in APC where people are a lot of things we cannot say on television.
Okay, you're going into the APC now. When we're talking about the PDP, but you've not answered my question. Okay. You said that the candidate said, yes, the chairman will go if he emerges the candidate of the party and all of that. But is it in his powers? Does he have the power to remove the chairman or ask the chairman to step down? After all, you have an end of UC of the party.
Okay, let me tell you something.
No, does he have the powers? Yes or no?
Let me tell you something.
No, does he have the power? Yes or no?
If you don't have the power, by reason of law and constitution, by reason of influence and relationship, he has the power.
So you think if he tells the chairman to step down, the chairman will step down?
They are one and the same now. Both of them are the same.
When you say they're the same, how do you...
They are from the same political bloc, the PDF.
So this is really about the tussle for the, the machinery of the party, really. So you think that the candidate of the party really owns the party right now?
Wait. It is not a tussle. It is agitation for justice and equity. It also means that no.
Speaking
agitation for justice and equity. Look, okay.
Speaking of which, Dr. Osa, yesterday during Governor Seyi Makinde's speech, he also referenced, the possible appointment of a governor from the north as the DG campaign organization of the presidential candidate of your party, which he suggested, may not be going down well with members of the party in the south. Is that also part of the grievance? And
that one is not yet on the table.
If the DG emerged from the north, would it also, be one of those things that the southern members of the party are aggrieved about? Will it be party structure in the hands of the north?
If the national chairman is from the south and the DG emerges from the north, why not? Why not? If the national chairman is from the south and the DG emerges from the north, why not? But if they still want to go along this thing, and then this thing, you will see clearly that people will begin to doubt the capacity and the ability of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar to unify this country. You need a unifier now.
So does that mean they will not support him in the long run if this happens, or if this goes on like this?
That the South will not support him?
Yes.
I can't speak for the South.
I'm sure you'll have weighed all the options.
Eh?
You'll have weighed all the options. If it doesn't go our way, what are we going to do? What's the next move? I mean, politicians, you think like 10 steps ahead.
A lot of people, individuals, what will happen is that some people will decide this way, some that will decide this way. I think so. But to say that thing will just go like that, no. He himself will weigh his options and say, okay, the South did not they didn't Obasanjo, he didn't get vote from Southwest, and so did they do their own calculation too. But the mistake they've been making now is that, look, I want to build road, I want to do this. It's all these ones, they are good, you get the point. But development is about man. You get the point? Development is about man. So that is why nation building counts more than all these ones. That is why the content or character of whoever wants to win this, you must engender believability. People must believe in you. People must trust you. It is when they must trust that you have the capacity to engender social trust. What do I mean by social trust? Social trust is that you believe in your nation. You want to stand by it. That it will, because the system will pay back. You get the point? Because the system will pay back, so you will invest your time, energy, intellect into the making of the system. That's
very, very quickly now, Dr. Awoson. It would seem easy, to accuse your presidential candidate of not being able to unify the party. But if you went way down in history to what members of your party now are referencing as Governor Wike rescuing the party when he funded the party and supervised the emergence of former national chairman Uche Secondus as chairman of the party. At the time, members of the Southwest were aggrieved, saying that the Southwest had worked, very much for the party, for the success of the party, and they were eased out of the scheme of things at the time. I remember former national chairman Vice, Mr. Bode George, was one of those who were aggrieved at the time. So now that things are not going down well with Governor Wike of Rivers State, it seems as if, misery loves company, and the Southwest and the South are now coming together in the party. So it seems as if, the crisis is second nature to the PDP, and that, the PDP should be able to put its house in order regardless of Southwest or South-South.
The issue of a Southern presidency is not, it's not an issue of PDP alone. Even those who do not belong to party structure are clamoring. Look, ordinarily they will clamor. They have seen, the market woman have seen Buhari, and it's going to see Buhari for the next few months. You get the point? Making 8 years that he has been seeing Buhari. He will automatically want to see somebody fundamentally different, you get the point, from another part of the country. You know that, let me tell you that, why it is important, the content or character of whoever is going to be, is that, beyond the elastic limit is the breaking point. But at the elastic limit, if you have a leader who can midwife consensus, a leader who can present himself as somebody that you can believe, somebody you can hold, that he will be just and fair, we will not slip into breaking point.
Okay. Interestingly, we're at a break, not a breaking point right now. We need to take a break right now. When we return, we'll wind down this. Clearly, there are a lot of issues, even from the emergence of the candidacy, the way forward. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us.
Stay connected to the world with Channels TV Podcast and get all the trending stories. Simply log on to channelstv.com, click on podcast, select the program of your choice, and listen. Our podcast is available on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Tap the expertise you trust. Touch the stories that touch you. Anytime, anywhere. From the north to the south, east and west, Network Africa brings you news stories from all around the continent. With wide range in coverage, insights, and analysis of special issues, we dissect Africa in its beauty and peculiarities. Network Africa tells the African story from the African perspective. Network Africa, weekdays at 4 p.m.
Our closing moments with Dr. Awoson. Clearly, lots of issues still in the PDP coming off the emergence of a candidacy. Now, this, the chairmanship of your party. And, campaigns will start very soon. One wonders, really, how your party will be able to navigate this. But on a final note, I recall that after your 2017 convention, you had an interview. And you spoke about the emergence of a third force. Really, and it looks like the third force currently in Nigeria, which some are calling the Labour Party, will be the greatest beneficiary of all the conflicts, the crisis, this back and forth within the PDP.
I am not sure that the Labour Party, which seems to want to undermine structure. Politics is local.
But you with structure, see the issues you're having within your party.
No. Look, where you have 3, 5, 4 people, and every day they go on, they say, something must be wrong with them. You see, it's the interaction of conflicts, you get the point, that brings creativity and innovation. The both parties, APC, they will go over this thing, and they will learn from it. That's why those who are on the right of equity and justice must insist.
Are you undermining the structure that appears to now be emerging in many parts of the country, for what Kadi referred to as the third force, in the Labour Party, that we're seeing every day now?
But you see, every news is all the news is about the candidate, Obi. Even they say they are obedient and all this thing. But the news about is that most of the time it's about APC, PDP. When you go to your state, it's APC, PDP. Or you get the point. There is no such. Everything is in the air. I have not seen it. I have not seen it at the grassroots.
Okay, you've not seen the rallies. You've not seen the meetings with the people in diaspora, the support, and all of that.
People to identify. Look, the last election in Osun, they asked the Labour candidate that all this movement about that will aid. You said no. I don't need any. You were there. He said, I don't need. He said, I'm popular in this place and all this thing. He didn't present himself as the candidate of the, that is linked with the ticket holder.
Well, clearly, very interesting days ahead. But just quickly, so are you tipping the deputy national chairman to take over, who's from the southwest, to take over from the national chairman if he chooses to step down?
That one is not yet on the table.
Because that way the Southwest will win.
No, let me tell you something. Southwest can present any candidate from outside.
So it doesn't have to be...
It doesn't have to be from the Southwest.
No, it doesn't have to be... If the party in the Southwest chooses that, okay, let the national chairman, deputy national chairman that is there now, let it move. Or let one of the... No. It is not about me, about you.
All right.
It is about the zone.
Okay, we have to anchor at that point. Would like to thank you so much. We've been speaking with Dr. Olusonya Awoson, who was a pioneer member of the PDP under President Obasanjo. He served as Special Assistant Public Relations to President Jonathan, as well as other positions. Thank you so much for your time on the program this morning. Well, that's been a look into the internal affairs of the People's Democratic Party. But that's not all. We'll flip this over to Abuja for the next leg of this conversation.
Well, yes, indeed. Thank you, Kaide. But yesterday, the Supreme Court did give a verdict, a ruling, on the People's Democratic Party in Ebonyi State. Now, here's a little bit of background to that matter.
Lawyers in the suit father Mr. Ifeanyi Odi challenging the decision of the Court of Appeal, Abuja Division, which declared Senator Obinna Ogba as the governorship candidate for the People's Democratic Party in next year's election, are at the Supreme Court calmly waiting for the pronouncement of the justices. The five-man panel of justices, led by Justice Amina Augi, arrive and commence the business of the day. Justice Mohammed Garba, who reads the lead judgment, holds that Senator Joseph Ogba did not have the right of appeal because he was not a part of the suit when the matter came up at the trial court in Abakaliki, Ebonyi State, and was not given leave to do so, and as such deprived the appellate court right of jurisdiction. The Apex Court further held that the appellate court ought not to have entertained the case because Mr. Ogba did not obtain leave of court before filing his appeal at the appellate court. Ifeanyi Odi was elected the party's governorship candidate during a council primary held between May the 28th and 29th this year. Later, at a rescheduled primary held on June the 4th and 5th this year as well, Senator Ogba was declared winner, and Mr. Odi approached the Federal High Court sitting in Abakaliki, which overturned Mr. Ogba's candidature. This move necessitated Senator Ogba approaching the Court of Appeal, which ruled in his favor, declaring him the winner. Sounds of excitement and jubilation rent the air shortly after the judgment is read.
Two things stand out very clearly. One, a political party cannot, after holding a concluded primary election, cancel on its own that primary election and order a fresh one. That is usurping the powers of the court. Then secondly, in pre-election matters, if you are not a party to the case, before you can appeal against a decision therefrom, you must obtain leave of the court.
Today's judgment, however, makes Mr. Ifeanyi Odi the authentic candidate of the People's Democratic Party for the Ebonyi State governorship polls. In the coming months, it will be interesting to see how the PDP in Ebonyi State embraces this judgment and puts its house together as its new candidate, Mr. Odi, gets set to face candidates of other parties in the 2023 elections.
Well, yeah, there you go. That is the development at the moment. But I did tell you that you were going to see Markwe as well as we progress. But guess what? Well, she is also here this morning. Markwe, good morning.
Good morning, Chamberlain. And good morning to the crew in Lagos and, of course, to our esteemed viewers. Buki, I promise I was not spying on your dress code this morning when I got dressed, but it's certainly good to see that we're both in the mood of turquoise blue.
So no memo in question this time around?
No memo in question.
Okay. Well, Silas Ono joins us here. He is a member of the People's Democratic Party in Ebonyi State. He's a legal practitioner. And you remember there were some court matters about the chairmanship position of that party, which we'll go on to in a moment. Good morning, first of all. Thank you for coming on here today.
Welcome back, Markwe. It's been a while.
It has been, indeed. It looks like you're in a very exuberant mood this morning.
Yeah, I've always been. Never lost this excitement for a day.
Okay. Well,
Just been dragged for necessary
There's
reasons.
only so much that 2-minute or less report can give us. I mean, it's definitely several things will be left out of that. So if you can just give us some sort of background to this particular matter.
Well, it all started with the primaries election of May 28th and 29th this year, when party scheduled, PDP, scheduled House of Assembly and National Assembly elections for Saturday, the 28th of May, and then the governorship primary election for Sunday, the 29th of May. While the primaries of 28th was concluded, on Sunday, the primaries of the governorship primaries was ongoing and transmitted live. We saw a press release by the National Publicity Secretary that the primaries has been cancelled. And we reached out to know if the National Working Committee held any meeting, because we knew that 28th was the National Convention date, and 29th, they were all tired and people were sleeping. They couldn't have had any meeting on that day. So we disregarded the press release and continued our primaries. And I was chairman then before the Court of Appeal decision. So we continued the primaries.
So I think at that time he had said that if there was going to be a release, there was supposed to be a meeting of the executive or something before that release would be issued, as opposed to just one person issuing a release or something like that.
Yeah. That was the point I made, that the publicity secretary cannot cancel primaries. It has to be the decision of the National Working Committee or NEC. And there are reasons for cancellation of primaries, one of which is that there was violence at the primaries. So there was no violence. It was peaceful, transmitted live from beginning to the end. A return was made by the panel sent. That results was sent back to the National Working Committee as a report. They received it. Then the other group within the party had also gathered themselves somewhere, but didn't do anything, and then relied on the cancellation, saying, wow, it's been cancelled, we will do another primaries. So because of the threat of a repeat primaries, the winner of that election went to court and filed an action challenging the powers of the party to cancel a primaries that has already been concluded and rights have been created. He's now a candidate. So he was not challenging any other candidate. He was challenging the PDP because INEC monitored the election. So he also joined INEC for purposes of transparency. Now, you were there. We did this election. It was transparent. I won. And this was the result. So he went to court, and the court heard his case. While the case was pending, the party issued a letter saying they have cancelled the primaries.
Which the courts usually don't like.
Good. And while the case was pending, the party fixed 4th and 5th of June for another primaries. So the lawyer of the candidate complained to the court, and look at what the party is doing. The court said, okay, leave them, let them do. If they are aware of this case, let them do what they want. It will be null and void because they are aware of this case. So let me give you a context. While the case started on the first day, Senator Obinna sent a lawyer. I'd like to say that the lawyer tried to be smart, thinking he could drag the case with an application for joinder. But we had applied and obtained abridgment of time so that things can be done expeditiously. And the court granted it. So this lawyer came and said they want to be joined. And the judge said, okay, go and file your processes before they adjourned it. And I will hear the case on this adjourned date, which was 7th of June. So on the 7th of June, we came back. That lawyer didn't file anything and was seeking a further adjournment to the next day, 8th, so that he can file his processes. And the judge said, we cannot wait for you. I can't even hear you because you're not in this case. You've not filed anything. So I can't even hear you, which is correct. And proceeded to hear the case and gave judgment on the same day. And this guy went and filed application for joinder after judgment had been given. So they now appealed as interested parties, that is, persons interested in the election. Having filed notice of appeal, they also applied for leave to appeal that decision of the trial court, since they were not joined. Now, the Court of Appeal fixed a date to hear that appeal.
Not the one that ordered the retrial?
No. There were two cases. I'll take you there. No, before the retrial issue, it's the same case that ordered retrial, but they were to hear the application for leave. And the justices of the Court of Appeal had to move from Abuja to Enugu to hear that application and granted it. Immediately, that application was granted. We filed an action saying it was granted out of time, because the Supreme Court has ruled severally that the 14 days within which you can challenge action of a trial court, an appeal, include where you need to seek leave include the seeking of leave and filing of the notice of appeal. So you must do all within 14 days. So the leave was granted on the 15th day. So realizing that their leave was granted out of time and it would be incompetent, they abandoned, and the leave ordered them to file a notice of appeal within 48 hours. So they filed a notice of appeal. But remember, they had filed one on 17th without leave. So when they filed their brief in that case, they now elected to rely on the earlier notice of appeal they filed without leave of court on 17th and abandoned the one granted them by court because they have seen that it's out of time. So they now argued that being a pre-election matter, constitutional provision in section 243, which requires leave, and which is the foundation of right of appeal. That is the section that grants you section 241, 242, 243 of the Constitution grants the right of appeal.
All right.
So they went and argued that those sections do not apply in pre-election, only section 285 does. Now what section 285 does is more or less like rules, giving you time within which to do what you need to do and who, and also defining what pre-election is and who can challenge a pre-election case, who can go to court. And what you have in section 84:14 of the Electoral Act is basically drawn from section 285 of the Constitution. So the Court of Appeal, disregarding their own latest judgment in that regard, which says you need leave, agreed that the trial court did not grant Senator Ogba the right to, or the opportunity to be heard.
Is that what the Supreme Court tried to correct on this judgment, saying they did not get the leave of court?
That was basically, they said you don't need leave as a pre-election. Court of Appeal said you don't need leave of court. So it's like approving an all-comers affair. You can just sit in your house and you hear that the judgment is given, you just go to Court of Appeal.
Is this...
Anybody.
What does this then mean? Because I know that you equally had the matter concerning the chairmanship position. Does this put paid to that particular case? If you continue with that case, isn't that going to perhaps affect the party moving forward?
No, it won't. Ordinarily, I've never been desperate about being party chairman. It was the way the Congress was conducted that I had issues with. And you remember we spoke that day. I do not like situations where people impose candidates or aspirants on others. If you let the process run and I lose, I will accept it. So I didn't like the way some people, the role they played. And that was why I challenged the election. And I won at the trial court. At the appellate court, I started seeing signs of things being wrong when the Court of Appeal granted stay of execution. Now, you don't grant stay of execution in a declaratory judgment. Even a law school student knows that.
So that's why you lashed out at the judiciary, saying there were question marks about
I didn't lash out. I wrote a complaint against the panel to the president of the Court of Appeal.
The petition.
And the president required that the panel be changed. And I didn't know that that offended the presiding judge of the Abuja division because he was presiding the other panel. Until a day in an open court, when he saw my matter and he started shouting, complaining. And people called me and said, what did you do to this man? They said, he'll deal with you, blah, 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 you know. So that aside, I do not agree with the decision of the Court of Appeal in my chairmanship case, just in the interest of correcting our jurisprudence. I will appeal that case. But everyone knows that the duty of a state party chairman are basically done with.
But at the moment now,
I don't really have anything to do there anymore. I don't need it.
Now that this Supreme Court decision has gone the way of Ifeanyi Odi, and you know that the man who sits there now as the chairman was sympathetic, as you say, to Senator Ogba, but he was here and he said, look, he's got nothing against anybody. Whichever way the judgment goes, which he has now, he is willing to work with everybody else. So if you insist that he needs to be ousted, he needs to leave that seat, isn't that going to perhaps raise some sort of bad blood, saying, look, if Senator Ogba has lost at this level, and at this level, you should be able to concede certain ground such that everybody can pull together as a party, having a common ground to move forward?
Like I said, I do not pursue my appeal for personal interests. It is to correct the jurisprudence. It is wrong to say that when you're wronged, because it's a political party that wronged you, you can't have a remedy. It is dangerous. The foundation of justice is ubi jus, ibi remedium. Where there is a wrong, there is a remedy. So you cannot say that because a political party did the wrong, there can be no remedy at all.
So it
is wrong. Okay. So, and that is what I want the Supreme Court to correct. And if the Supreme Court corrects it, if Tochukwu wants to continue as chairman, I can let him continue. So long as that principle is corrected, just like the one yesterday. If we had left, you know, your report said that the Court of Appeal declared Obinna Ogba winner. That never happened. But that was the impression created when the court allowed his appeal and ordered retrial, which also was an abnormal. You allow appeal and order retrial. It's abnormal. You should have granted his prayers if you allowed the appeal. You know? So sometimes these things happen. For me...
But is that something that the legal profession will actually look at if you allow appeal? Because if you allow appeal, it suggests that the case succeeds.
Yes.
But if in the same breath, you order a retrial.
So if you were going to order a retrial, you should have focused on denial of rights and just order retrial.
So I'm looking at this matter, and from what I can see, it looks like they're two separate grounds. I think your report pointed to the fact that, in the last part, about how your party is going to pull together. Because we know that court cases do not exactly unite parties. It divides them, and it makes hardliners of people. So it will be interesting to see just how your party pulls together as a result of this judgment. That's one. I think that's also flowing from Chamberlain's question. The second for me is that was this case faulted mostly on the ground of technicality? Was the matter of the case about whether or not a party could actually stop or cancel primaries if it so wishes? Was it really attended to? Because what it seems the Supreme Court said was that the parties, I mean, those who had sought leave, the appeal court, first of all, had no jurisdiction, and as such, could not have entertained the case. And it looks like Mr. Senator Ogba did not have leave of court, did not have the leave of the trial court to go and file his appeal. This sounds to many people like technicalities.
Technicalities.
Yes.
Well, firstly, on the issue of uniting the party, PDP in Ebonyi State is one big family. And like in any other big family, you always have internal wranglings. What transpired from the primaries up till yesterday was a struggle, all in the interests of the party and Ebonyi State. Both sides wanted they have something to offer the people of Ebonyi State, and each side felt they could do a better job. So it was all in the interest of Ebonyi State that we were in the trenches. Now we have gotten apart. I do believe that without much pressure or even asking too much, all other interests within the party will come together and we will face our common opponent and give Ebonyi people the government they desire that will bring about economic liberation in the state.
That's not going to happen by fiat. I mean,
no, it's not by fiat.
The judgment of the Supreme Court did not mandate that.
No. What I'm trying to say is that all of the struggle all along was just for the leadership. Everybody will come back. No Ebonyian will go and support APC today.
How do you know that?
They won't. We know ourselves. If any of us will go and do APC, we would have moved and aligned a long time ago.
I guess we
would have moved and made alliances a long time ago. So we will come back together. We will move as a family, and we will take back our state and make it prosperous.
Mr. Ono, I really want to share your optimism, but if there's anything we know of politics, it is that it's not over until it's over. And that sometimes some people feel bad enough
this issue is over.
And bitter enough that instead of, you know, this person having it, I'd rather give it to somebody else who's not a part of the family.
I don't see that happening in Ebonyi State. The reason is I'm in there and I know what is happening. And even while this is going on, it's not like we don't talk to each other. We talk to each other. We still interact. We remain friends while all of this was going on. And then secondly, whether this judgment was a technical decision. No, the judgment was all-encompassing. In fact, I was so impressed with how the Supreme Court justices relied more on the trial decision, commending the trial judge for how he handled the case. And they also observed the fact that the application for joinder was filed on the same day the judgment was given, which is wrong. There was no way it would be in the judge's file. There was no way you could have made that application on the same day and the judge will see it and deny you.
Of technicality.
No, it's not technicality. He was not a party to the trial. That was all the court said from the beginning. And one of the justices made a very key observation that the case was basically against the party, not against Senator Ogba. It was basically against the party. And the justice observed that how can a party that conducted election on the results sheet was the chairman of the national secretary, the national chairman, national organizing secretary, and the electoral officers that conducted the election, and then turn around without more to say you have canceled the election because those who conducted it had no quorum, without stating what quorum was needed and what quorum was used. You didn't say that because you needed to have so number of people and you had less, you didn't have quorum. The letter was just general and baseless. And the Supreme Court said that would not be allowed. That once a political party conducts a primary and the result is in, it cannot cancel it. Canceling it means usurping the powers of the court. And a political party cannot complain under our laws that the election did not hold according to guidelines or the Electoral Act.
This is his own internal elections.
No. The law is clear. The person who can complain is an aspirant, not political party. Political party should be neutral to all its members. It should be neutral. So it is an aspirant. If there is non-adherence to guideline or Electoral Act or the Constitution of this country, everyone who participated will see it. An aspirant will see it. The aspirant should complain to the party. The party cannot be a judge in its own cause. There was no complaint. And in any case, there was a second judgment that came from the Court of Appeal on the 19th of July. A similar matter between Obinna Ogba and the same Odi, wherein the Court of Appeal said Odi didn't have locus to challenge the primaries of 5th of June, because participation is not just a name, but actual participation means you have to be physically present during the primary election, and he wasn't there on the 5th. He did his own on 29th. Following that reasoning, Obinna Ogba also have no right to be joined in the case regarding primaries of 29th of May because he did not participate in that primaries. He stayed away. So this whole decision of the Supreme Court yesterday really addressed a lot of issues that have been...
Well, within the judiciary?
Even for political parties. The day they purportedly canceled the primaries, I wrote on my Facebook and I said, there was a Court of Appeal decision that said, I think APC and one local, that said once a party has conducted a primary, it cannot cancel it. But nobody paid attention to it.
Your party didn't listen to it?
Nobody paid attention to it.
So how's your party taking this now?
Well, the party really, as events progress, the party did do their best to be neutral. The party tried to see how both sides could work together. The national chairman convened several meetings. But since the matters were already in court, there was very little he could do. So we had to let the judicial process run their course. And by the grace of God, all other cases pending in respect of the same primary of 28th and 29th of May and 4th and 5th of June have finally been put to rest by the Supreme Court decision of yesterday, because the court was emphatic when they said the primary election of 29 was valid. The winner is the candidate. That was a very emphatic statement. So it follows without more that 28 and 29 are valid. So 4th and 5th is invalid.
Well, who knows? Well, I guess we'll wait and see what happens. But, you know, moving forward, it remains to be seen how all of this will happen at that governorship level, because you have other candidates who people in the state also consider very formidable. They have former secretaries to the government in the state who they're looking to. So it's not going to be a stroll in the park, as you may have suggested. But again, your party, your candidate has won this one. So I guess it's the party will have to find a way to pull together and proceed.
Can I say a word or two?
Well, you already said you're already optimistic that you're going to win.
Yeah,
so,
I don't look down on anybody in politics. So I would not discount or discountenance any of the candidates of other political parties. All right. So, but I want to tell you today, you can take this to the bank. Ebonyi State is a PDP state. Nobody will say otherwise.
Well, the
Ebonyi
voters,
is a PDP state.
The voters ultimately have the final say.
And that is why you saw the tussle for the ticket of Ebonyi State. As I speak to you now, we've achieved more than 50% of what we need.
All right.
To win the ticket.
We have to go.
What is left for us
even
now?
Even though the ruling party is not PDP in the state at the moment.
It's PDP. He changed party. He never won election with APC. Now, we're just going to dance to our victory. All right. Because the people already know what we have to offer.
We have to thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much.
We're back in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, yeah, now we're going to talk about what Bukky had to wade through yesterday. It was so funny, I tell you. But we'll get some explanations now. And we're joined by Adedamola Kuti. He's an engineer. He's a director of the Highway Southwest Zone Ministry of Works. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, I know you know by now, lots of perspectives about the developments with Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Well, last 2-3 days, thereabouts, even till this morning, there's still a huge tailback in traffic on that area. So you've been to that area, we understand you're just back. But what can you tell us about the situation in terms of either construction and what's going on at the moment on that road?
Yeah, thank you very much. On that road, you see, in the past, work is ongoing. And in the past few days, specifically on Monday, we had very heavy rainfall almost throughout the day. And it came with the attendant breakdowns of vehicles. And of course, it created a lot of backlog, which we were able to clear. And then on Tuesday, we experienced a similar thing. You know, at the diversion area, about 3 trucks, they were trying to navigate that area. Instead of giving way to the other ones, they were struggling, and then they crashed into each other. And that created some problems as well. And yesterday, the one Bukky experienced, there was actually a breakdown, of an articulated vehicle. And you must consider the fact that this is at a peak period. A lot of people are moving out, those who are going to their respective offices, those who have traveled all night trying to access Lagos, get into Lagos. So it was during the peak period. And then once you have a breakdown, and if there is no rescue operation immediately, it creates a lot of backlog.
So what is being put in place for the peak period? Because you know that when it's peak period like that, anything can go awry.
Well, for us, like I said, the diversion area, contrary to what I was told or what I heard on the telly, you know, where one of your reporters stated that the diversion area is very, very narrow. No, the diversion area is wide enough to take 2 vehicles at the same time. So what we are planning to do now, I've already told my people in Lagos, it'll be continuous, especially during this period. We'll carry out palliative work on that stretch at night, so that by the time people come in the morning, it becomes a bit smoother for them to drive on, you know? So because once you have a rough surface, it slows down traffic. And then, you see, this is rainy season. Anytime you have heavy rain, you know, at times it comes in with a lot of sand deposits and blocks all those holes on the bridge. So most of our people, once they drive in towards that area and see water, you know, they will slow down. So once you slow down, these are things, but we'll continuously, we'll be desilting all those things and then be carrying out palliative work at night.
All right, because I was wondering, since we know that the rains will be here, there'll be traffic build-up, one wonders if we didn't prepare. Is there anything that's been done to prevent those sand from flowing in before you then go ahead with the desilting?
No, it's a natural thing. You know, like it rains, of course we have our drains, and anytime, and you know, a lot of people, we have a lot of hawkers around that area, they sell pure water, sell this, but it's a continuous exercise. Our people are on ground to do that continuously. So that anytime you have this kind of incidents, you have a free flow.
I'm sure that the people in Lagos who certainly want to get their questions in. For one. I know. It's over now to you, Buki.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Maukwe. I'd like to, you know, respond to your observation about the diversion area being not being narrow. Yes, indeed, it is narrow because the portion is so small that you cannot contain the high volume of vehicles that now have to access it. So indeed, it is narrow. I think you should take more looks at visuals of you know, traffic congestion. Now, the concern about commuters on the road, Mr. Kuti, is that the federal government didn't plan properly for this rehabilitation work for that portion of the road. Had it thought out, you know, this whole routine, there are alternative routes on both sides of the expressway, the alternative routes that leads to Kara, where there's an exit point, you know, at the diversion portion, and the alternative route on the other side that, you know, also leads to OPIC. You know, so why wasn't there some form of grading done on those portions of the exit route so that at least commuters have 2 alternatives besides the main expressway itself?
Yeah, thank you very much, Bukili. Sorry for what happened yesterday. We really empathize with you. But let me still confirm and state very, very clearly that that diversion area is not narrow. An area that can take 2 vehicles at the same time is not narrow. We know you are coming on the highway that has like 3-4 lanes. And then when you get to the diversion area, it's reduced to 2. So you don't consider that as narrow. Now, the area you consider as an alternative is not an alternative because that area is not part of the express, it's an earth road. This is rainy season. Once it rains, you can't even use it. Bookie should take time to go and check. You know, it's an earth road. This is rainy season. Nobody can use an earth road during the rains. And you know, because of the soil.
Couldn't have made it usable, like maybe put some laterite,
make
it a little more, I mean, you people are the engineers.
No, if you put laterite, you see, the only thing that can make it motorable is to put asphalt.
Well,
you understand me?
Maybe not asphalt.
And then,
what about gravel?
No, even if you do it, this is rainy season. You know, the soil is so, the way, some of them is for that area, very clayey area, so you can't even drive it. Ordinarily, even if you are not stopping them, motorists will have been making use of it. So it's not an alternative. But what we know is that the diversion area which we have created, it's a moving traffic. Like I mentioned, it is a construction zone, and you move in at about 30 kilometers per hour, 20 kilometers per hour, you'll get to your destination. But at times, some of these things do happen, breakdowns, you know, accidents, and the rest. So people should just be very disciplined, give way, allow other vehicles, move in quietly, and we'll be out.
You say people should just be very disciplined. That doesn't exactly go with Lagos traffic or Lagos drivers in traffic. You know, was there any other preparation? And this is drawing from Buki's question. If you say that that particular what looked like an alternative was not really or is not really an alternative, and knowing the way Lagos drivers, I hate to generalize, but knowing the indiscipline that we find on Lagos roads, did we think that there was going to be any alternative to ensure that at this particular point, on this particular road, for the duration of this job, this project, that people maintain some sort of discipline, that there are officers on that road making sure that people understand that this is different. You can be in discipline on the rest of Lagos, but not on this particular axis.
Yeah, thank you. You see, like I mentioned earlier, I was on that road last week. I met with the Commissioner of Police in Ogun State on the security aspect of it. I had discussions with him, and he assured us of adequate security with his men. I also met with the corridor commander, met with the sector commander in Ogun State, you know, for assistance. And of course, I spoke with the sector commander in Lagos to continue to assist the corridor commander, as well as the trace commander in Lagos. So they are there. We'll continue to engage them. It's a continuous thing, you know, and we want to appeal to our people. It's an appeal that we all know that this is a construction zone. Whatever we are doing is for the betterment of the society, and whichever way, within the next few weeks, we'll be off from that area.
Well, Mr.
And then
Kutsi,
we can move forward. Yeah,
Mr. Kutsi, if you didn't consider those alternative routes that I mentioned earlier, if you didn't consider them alternative routes before, I wonder if you now consider them alternative routes, because the federal government now has a greater problem on its hands because of the laissez-faire manner in which motorists are now plying the one-way traffic on the Ibadan route of the expressway, where they now come out at the diversion point. And this morning, what happened was nothing less of a confusion, because those who are coming out at the other end to return to the Lagos end are sort of colliding with those who are on the right route. And then security operatives are now collecting bribes from those who are joining the one-way route at Arepo. So these are all of the problems that you have to contend with on that road. So are you considering at least grading the Kara alternative and the OPIC alternative on both ends of the expressway?
Saying is that, you see, unfortunately, we are in the rainy season. If we were to be in the dry season, some of these things can be done, you know, at least as an emergency escape route. You understand? But right now, you cannot do that during the rainy season. You see, the rainy season is there, and then there's nothing much we can do. We are trying as much as possible to reduce the stress people are passing through there. But then, whatever the situation is, we'll continue to engage, we'll continue to appeal to you to make use of this diversion area that has been created for this purpose. And then, of course, once you move, you get out of this traffic.
So I'm sure it must have been in the works for quite some time, months. I don't know if years, but clearly months. Yes, it's a rainy season, but rainy season is not all through the year. So why didn't maybe you have a plan to have asphalted that road, sort of? And I'm talking about the point where people can do a U-turn, especially people who want to go back into Lagos, because that's what causes a lot of the confusion. At the end of the day, they end up stopping, or at least blocking those who are leaving Lagos, and when they do the U-turn or try to do the U-turn, they obstruct people trying to come into Lagos from that Long Bridge area. So clearly, it doesn't look like a lot of planning was put into this, because maybe the road may have been asphalted before the rain started, because you knew that at this time we were going to be ready to do that. So was there enough planning really into all of this?
there was enough planning. And you see, like we mentioned earlier, this is towards, of course, entering Lagos. This particular place you are talking about is not part of Lagos-Ibadan. It's not part of our highway. It doesn't belong to us. It was probably created by maybe a community somewhere around there. And it's difficult, of course. Once we create a diversion for people and for motorists to make use of, you see, additionally, people now go about creating their own. And even this OPIC that Buki mentioned, the OPIC one will encourage drivers to drive against traffic. Because once you get towards that OPIC area, you want to enter into inbound Lagos and create a kind of confusion there. You know, so you see all these areas.
Pardon me, Mr. Kuti. If that, if the route under the Karab Bridge had been fixed, pardon me.
I don't know who is going to bear the cost.
I mean, this is part of making life easier for people. And I think that, I imagine that is the goal. That is the ultimate goal. Because you know how harrowing it's been for a lot of people coming into Lagos from different parts of the country. In this past few months, that construction has been ongoing. Now, this has made the bad situation even worse. So I imagine it wouldn't be hard to have some sort of, you know, extra provision to fix that route under the Kara Bridge, I'm saying. So if people are coming from the alternative routes, they can then link with that other route under the Kara Bridge and do a U-turn and join the expressway that leads into Lagos. But, I mean, maybe this is a little too late. Perhaps something can be done. I'm really appealing for something to be done. But just to be clear, will this project, and I'm talking about the whole stretch, be done before the end of this administration?
Yeah. The whole stretch of Lagos to Ibadan, you know, will be completed. The main carriageway will be completed before the end of this year, 2022.
So all of that route, you're talking about this one that is being done and from Ibadan up until Lagos will be done by December.
Yeah, what we have on the Lagos end, that's the section 1. What you have is the section from the Old Toll Gate around that secretariat area down towards Kara, and out of which, as we speak, the section from the beginning, that's around that secretariat up to Otedola Bridge. In the next few days, we should be completing that and opening it to traffic, and then we'll move to another side. Then this OPIC area is just 1.3 kilometers. It will also be completed. So on this stretch, altogether, what you have is 6.1 kilometers. And then when you go towards section 2, we have just less than about, 20 kilometers that we have on both sides. And we are working very, very hard to ensure that these two sections are completed. And of course, it may also interest you to know that we have created additional gangs. Ordinarily, we will have, because of our timing, we will have left one gang operating between Old Toll Gate and Otedola Bridge. But because of the delivery date we have been given, we decided to include this OPIC area, and that is where we are. So for us, we are working towards a completion date of 2022 December.
You know, we know that the road has got to be done. We know that construction work has got to go. They have to see what they can do to finish up the road. At the same time, I know you've spoken about, even the last time you spoke, you mentioned how the construction workers, the ministry are factored in certain things, that they put in place measures to ensure that when you drive at 20, 30 kilometers per hour, you get to your destination. But that there is usually breakdown and those who are driving against traffic. Those two key issues affect what goes on there largely. So has there been a handshake between the ministry officials and perhaps security agencies or whichever governments to ensure that they have tow vehicles or whatever they had to put in place to ensure that whenever there is a breakdown, it's attended to promptly, and then they arrest whoever drives against traffic, because that is another headache entirely?
Yeah, sure. I just told you, I came back from Lagos last week. I met with all the agencies involved. I met with the Commissioner of Police, you know, for the security concerns along that route, met with all this road safety, and then they have, even apart from that, Julius Becker itself has a towing truck. I have pictures there that I will show you, you know, some of those assistance we have also rendered to to some of these agencies in terms of pulling off all these vehicles. So they are there. But what you see at times, even some of these trucks, they are heavily overloaded. And then when they want to climb the bridge, you know, they go slowly, and then you see a lot of other vehicles queuing behind them. Some of them, even instead of them to drive by the side, they drive at the center. And then every other person has to be queued up behind them. So these are some of the, but we'll keep on, you know, engaging them from time to time.
Because part of what caused that gridlock yesterday, there were a lot of people who drove against traffic. From the night before up until the morning after, they were all just there, and then they were trapped in there. So when they keep saying, yes, they're going to do that, it's a different thing that plays out on a regular basis. So they may have told you that, but in many cases, it always remains to be seen if they are on ground all the time. But you also spoke about construction going on at night, that they were going to provide security. Is that happening now? I haven't been through there at night.
No, like I mentioned to you, you see, the main construction itself cannot be done at night. In terms, even if it is done at night, what we are just trying to save our time. It's not as if you finish your construction at night and open the road in the morning. You can only do maintenance work. And then this palliative work, like I mentioned to you, we shall carry out those ones in the night, so that by the time people get there in the morning, it becomes smoother for them to move.
Well, as you say, before this year, that's by December, this road should be over and done with.
Sure.
Wow.
We are working towards that.
Well,
we are working towards that.
We'll have to see all the other agencies and Road Jesus. We'll have to see what we can all do while the construction goes on, so that we just obey the traffic regulations and the traffic officials as much as we can, such that you consider the next person who's driving, so it's smoother for a lot of older people. Well, we have to thank you for coming on. Didamola Kuti is an engineer. He's a director, Highway Southwest Zone in the Ministry of Works. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Because I know it's not going to be easy.
Thank you.
Well, look at some feedback coming through. You want to take the first one?
Yes, sir. This is from Henry Okeke, and he's talking about Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. I know that's going to be high off the list for many Lagosians, and it's understandable. When a 10-minute journey turns to a 6-hour journey, I mean, certainly this is, you know, explainable. The inconvenience caused by a mere road maintenance is avoidable. The construction company can do more work at night to ease the traffic during the day. In all, factoring in public safety, weather, and other natural interference is a question of standardization and professionalism. That's Henry Okeke's thoughts.
I thought it was a major construction. Okay. Ayodele says the gridlock on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway at Kara Bridge shows that those in charge didn't prepare enough for the project. They probably didn't study traffic pattern on that corridor. They could create diversion on that other side. It has less traffic, and it goes on. But I think he already spoke to a lot of these other issues that's been raised here.
Oh, well. Let's take this one from Festus Akimboyewa, and he says, despite the efforts of some PDP leaders to downplay the party crisis, there's a bigger battle underway if the chairman fails to step down. It's certain that PDP can't rescue Nigeria if it can't rescue itself. PDP ignores the demands of the Southwest at its own peril.
Well, Cherry Kogi also tweets about the PDP conversation, saying the official PDP, well, the PDP coined the term doctrine of necessity. I don't see why this should not be adopted in removing its national chairman in the spirit of inclusiveness. Well, there you go. That's a look at the tweets and messages you have sent. I mean, we're being inclusive right there, ensuring that we take your messages. Thank you for being a part of the show this morning. I'm Kayode Okikele.
Indeed, thank you for watching. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo.
Amaokwe Ogun Yusuf, thank you.
And we're working to expose those who are collecting and giving bribe on that Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, actually, which is part of what's causing the headache. But we will get them. Oh, sorry. I'm Chamberlain, so see you next time.